Franz Wagner has the bag. A new contract for the Magic's forward. Why he got the max and whether it was the right decision. Plus, we'll talk about how the Magic are committing to their foundation and why it was always Paulo and Franz. We'll get to all that today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is July 8th, 2024. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, Franz Wagner gets the bag. We'll talk about Magic giving Franz Vagner the max, why this was the inevitable conclusion, the inevitable decision, how the Magic are now committing to their foundation, and why this always had to be the play. We're going to get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, there's a great Locked On podcast covering every single team in the NBA. Just search for Locked On and the team you're looking for, the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. With summer in full swing, the sports kind of dry up a little bit. Not the way we like them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. First, I hope everyone had a great holiday weekend for those who were able to celebrate. If you were just I hope you had a great weekend, period. I did think about coming on Saturday to address the Franz Wagner deal, but ultimately I had family in town, family events to go to for my birthday weekend, and it didn't end up coming up. I figured we can wait till Monday to get into the Franz Wagner deal. But undoubtedly, when it hit the wires Friday afternoon, this was a humongous deal. This is a big deal. The biggest contract ever handed out in Orlando Magic history, just a product of inflation more than anything else. But a 5-year, $242 million extension that can grow to $260 million extension, a max extension for Franz Wagner. Just like, forget the raw numbers. Like, again, I think everyone is still wrapping their heads around how much money there is in the NBA right now. Paolo's going to get more when he signs his extension next year because we're expecting a 10% increase in the cap next season. But Franz Wagner will get 25% of the salary cap in 2025. Again, this is the last year of his rookie contract, so he's still under his rookie contract right now. He will be under his new contract in the 2025 season. It'll pay him about $38 million in that first year. It'll top off at, I believe, $50 or $51 million. Again, don't get so wrapped up in the numbers. Don't get so wrapped up in everything else. This is about, this is just the reality of the NBA. But more than anything else, a max contract is a status. A max contract is the team telling you as a player, you are one of the most important players on the team. You really only have spots for 2 max contracts. Paolo's going to get another one. Jalen Suggs will get $30+ million, but as a function of importance, who you decide to pay, where you decide to invest your money, that is a major statement. And look, there's been a lot of narrative going on about the decision to max Franz Wagner. And I will admit, it is a risk. I think there was room for debate. I think the Magic could have very easily said, hey, you're going to put down a deal for $35, $36 million, something so close to the max, but not quite the max, and tell them, prove us wrong. This deal is going to be there for you when you get back. It doesn't matter. That deal is on the table. We are cool with it no matter what happens, barring catastrophe. That deal's on the table. Go play for your max. They could have very easily done that, and that might have actually been the right decision. But having said that, if you believe a player is a max player, and with the numbers that Franz Wagner puts up, 19.6 points per game last year, career high, he had almost 4 assists per game, like 6-7 rebounds per game. With such an important player, with a player who makes such a big impact for this team. They didn't go get Paul George. They didn't, if they ever were in that running, they didn't go acquire another star player because they believe they have one. And look, at the end of the day, you got to believe in your guys. That ultimately, that's where I come down on this. If you're debating whether Franz is a max player or not, and he's certainly in the running and in the conversation to be a max player, it's a debate worth having. You can agree or disagree with it, but it is a debate worth having. If you are having that debate and you ultimately decide yes, you better just pay him now. If you're deciding no on that, it's not that you should ever give up on a 22-year-old, but that's when you got to start shopping. That's when you got to start thinking, is this really the guy? At the end of the day, this is the statement the Magic have made. We believe in what we're building. You can see that in every single thing the Magic did this offseason. We're going to talk more about that tomorrow. But in every single thing the Magic did this offseason, they doubled down on themselves. They doubled down on who they are. We will talk about this tomorrow a little bit more. We're going to get to Summer League on Wednesday. We will hear from the Summer Leaguers on Monday afternoon. But at the end of the day, the Magic made this clear, full-throated statement. We are on the right track. We believe in the players that we have all throughout the roster. They keep investing in them. And we're going to invest in our best players at the highest level. Now, we will talk about what Franz has to do to make good on this max, because there is a lot of criticism out there on this deal, and I do want to address that. But at the end of the day, what the Magic did is they committed to their foundation. They said Jeff Weltman and the DeVos family and Alex Martins and everyone who makes those high-level decisions that are million-dollar decisions, they all essentially looked at this roster and said, we are moving in the right direction. Not only are we moving in the right direction, we believe this will only get better. And that is why the Magic are sitting here. That is why the Magic are sitting here preparing to make this humongous offer, to make this humongous deal. This is why the Magic are committing to this person and this player. It's both. They believe in what Franz Wagner can become. They believe in what Paolo Banchero can become. And if you want to read between some lines, Jalen Suggs did not participate in the U.S. select team scrimmage today against the U.S. national team. There's a lot of people that believe a contract extension is coming for Jalen Suggs. I am a little bit more skeptical on that. I think that there is a lot of wiggle room to say, like, okay, here's a $31 million, let's just per year. Here's a $31 million, $32 million per year deal on the table. Play this season out. Let's see if you can get it to 33, 34. That may not be how the Magic operate. Jeff Weltman is going to invest in who he believes in. He believes in Franz Wagner. Paolo Banchero is going to get a max next year too. Jalen Suggs is going to get a very, very rich contract. You're going to be surprised. People keep saying there's no way Jalen Suggs is a $30 million player. Yes, he is. He is looking for Emmanuel Quickley money, and I am not, I would not be surprised if he gets it. And if the Magic are being proactive with these young players and inking these deals now so they don't have to worry about them this summer, that's not, that is them believing in this team and believing in this foundation. And what reason wouldn't they have to believe in it? Why wouldn't they believe in this team? They keep getting better. They keep improving and winning. And this is an investment in future progress. This is an investment in what the team will become as much as anything else. The Magic believe in Franz Wagner. And that is why he is getting a max contract. But like I said, there are a lot of questions about this. There are a lot of questions about whether Franz is actually worth the max. We will explore what he has to do to silence those doubters coming up here in just a moment. But first, it's time for a quick word from our friends over at FanDuel. Look, I love sports, but summer is a little bit light on the sports. Like even the Orlando Pride and the NWSL is getting ready to take their summer break. They got their Leagues Cup with Liga MX, but all the players are going off to the Olympics. Or, we've got the WNBA getting ready for their Olympic break. Sports just isn't the same in the summer, with all due respect to friends who like baseball. But FanDuel lets you keep the sports going whenever you want. All you have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime you're in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers. It's in all caps, so I have to emphasize it, with a boost or a bonus daily. Again, all in caps, so you have to emphasize it. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. We want to thank you for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. If you want the lowdown on the biggest stories in sports, but you don't want the shouting, or you don't want to hear about a certain player who plays for the Los Angeles Lakers Summer League team because he seems to be getting all the coverage despite not doing very much, then head on over to the Locked On Sports 24/7 streaming channel to get all the can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news on the biggest stories in sports from the local experts who know their team best. Even if you end up listening to analysis of that certain Lakers player, you're going to get the best analysis of that certain Lakers player because it's coming from someone who knows his team inside and out. Check out the Locked On Sports Day 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Look, we are dealing with very big dollar amounts, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. Franz Wagner is getting a contract that's going to start him at about $38 million, and by the time we get to year 5, it's going to pay him $50 million. Paolo Banchero in the first year of his new contract is going to get paid about $42 million if the cap rises at the level that we're expecting it to rise. These are insane raw numbers, and like I think I've been trying to warn everybody, we've got to start thinking of things in terms of percentage of the salary cap rather than that raw number, because the raw numbers are not what they used to be. Tracy McGrady got paid $17 million in his max contract. Grant Hill's $16, $17 million contract was really difficult for Orlando to work around under the salary cap in the early 2000s. We have come a very, very long way. In fact, when you look at the numbers, the Orlando Magic are, I think, the only team in the NBA that has not paid a player $100 million total. Nikola Vucevic's 4-year, $100 million extension that he signed, I believe, in the summer of 2019, that is actually the third largest contract by total dollar amount the Magic have ever given out. Rashard Lewis's, I believe it was a 5 or 6 year deal that he signed in 2008 or 2007 for the 2008 season, is the second largest. Franz Wagner now with the richest contract in Magic history. These numbers are changing dramatically. Where the league would usually see the salary cap bump up 1-2% every year, we're going to see a 10% increase to the salary cap every year for the next 5, 6, 7 years. The new TV deal is going to be massive. I want to warn you about these numbers. Why do I love the Jonathan Isaac deal so much? That deal is going to be a bargain if he is healthy, and there are injury protections on that contract. There are a lot of non-guaranteed years later on in that contract, at least according to some reports. That deal is going to be a freaking bargain if Jonathan Isaac is as good as we think he is. If he's going to get paid, I think $15 million on the last year of that deal. $15 million of a $170 million cap is nothing. It's nothing. Like I want you to know that, and I want you to feel to understand that. But look, max contract is a status symbol as much as anything else. Everyone, there have been max players in the history of the NBA who have been ridiculed for being max players. 7-time All-Star Joe Johnson. The fact that I have to say the fact that I call him 7-time All-Star Joe Johnson, that's partly a joke because he was the highest paid player in the league for a very, very long time. And people thought that was ridiculous, even though Joe Johnson's a great player, deserved the max contract that he got. You get the point. It is a status symbol. And there are questions of whether Franz Wagner deserves to be in that group. A lot of people are going to point immediately to his game 7 and say, look, the guy went 1 for 17 in a must-win game. Might have been his first playoff, sure. He had a solid but not spectacular series. Had a big game 4, had a big game 6. The Magic understood, and they said this after the game. We are not where we are without Franz Wagner. We're not going to put this one on him. But that was a high-profile game, a nationally televised game on ABC, one of the first ABC game the Magic have had since Dwight Howard. That was a big moment, and Franz did not perform in it. So there are a lot of people that are saying a guy that's doing that is not worth the max. I'm sure I'm going to have people in my comments who will agree with that statement. Again, at the end of the day, it's the Magic believing in their guy. It's the Magic believing in the player that they developed, that they know will bounce back from that. I think Sam Vecini noted that Franz Wagner went 1 for 10 in the Elite Eight for Michigan, came back and had an incredible run with the Magic in his rookie year. So he is someone that does, again, now we have a pattern, but he is someone that bounces back from these things and plays a whole lot better. And we expect him to bounce back from on his 3-point shooting, which is going to be the biggest key to this whole thing. I don't think Franz has to prove anything to anyone. He just has to keep getting better. And again, we're going to talk more about that here in a minute, but this is kind of the reality of things. Who else were the Magic going to spend a max contract on? If now is the time to spend because it's going to be cheap. It's not going to hurt you later on as much, but the Magic are trying to build 2 stars. They want to be a team that's drafted their 2 stars. They did go after Paul George. They didn't throw a ton of money at Klay Thompson. There are a lot of players that there are a lot of opportunities where they could have added another high money guy and taken Franz off of that max line. I still have people saying, why did the Magic go after DeJounte Murray? This is one of the reasons why, because DeJounte Murray is a near max guy. Now you're messing with the pecking order. At the end of the day, this is what the Magic did. The Magic told the world and told the team, Franz is our guy. We are a Paolo and Franz team. Those are our guys. And with the opportunity to pay them like the stars that they are, because when you're on a rookie contract, you're not paid. You're cost controlled. With the opportunity to pay these guys like the stars that they are, the Magic said, this is our guy. And so now as we look ahead to, obviously now Franz has to perform. We have to see him get over 20 points per game. I want to retire that stat as well. He has to get back to shooting 35% from 3. Can't be a sub 33-point shooter as a wing player. That contract's going to be very hard to offload or very hard to move around if Franz doesn't perform at the level that the Magic expect him to. That's just fact. All this stuff has to come together in that way. And obviously there is a lot of work to do. And obviously Franz has to go out and prove it. We're going to see him in the Olympics. We're going to see if he's made any progress, if he's in a better place than or if he's improved, or if the shootings come back around, if a little bit of time off has helped him or not. But at the end of the day, Franz just has to get better. And really that is the secret sauce to the whole thing. We could talk about everything else that's going on with the Orlando Magic. We can talk about free agency. We could talk about all of it. At the end of the day, it starts with the 2 stars. And again, that's what this is about. It's about investing and promoting and believing in this foundation you've built. The future was always Paolo and Franz. And I want to talk a little bit more about that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at BetterHelp. Look, we've all had moments where we're scrolling, we're doing the doom scroll on social media. We do that. It's part of our lives now. And it's really easy to look at least the facade that people put on social media and think, why am I not that happy? Why am I not feeling these Instagram moments? Comparison is the thief of joy. It's easy to envy other people's lives, especially in today's internet world. People might look like they have it all together, but in reality, they probably don't. Therapy can help you focus on what you want instead of what others have. Make it about you, not about someone else. And that's so important. Everyone struggles with this. I struggle with it. You probably struggle a little bit with it, making sure you're centered on yourself. Therapy is something that I have used throughout my life to help me deal with problems, both emotional and everything else, just to get everything out on the table and think about it from a different lens. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge until you find the right person for you. Stop comparing and start focusing with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. So the Magic's offseason is essentially over. The Magic have one more roster spot left, but at least by my cat math, I can't speak. At least by my cat math, the Magic have spent all their cap room. If I'm not mistaken, they use the room mid-level exception to sign Goga Bitadze. That's the Magic spent all their money. And that was before the reports came out that they used flat rates on Gary Harris and Mo Wagner. So I'm pretty sure that they used all of their money. So they're essentially done. And, a lot of people that I've talked to are very underwhelmed by the Magic's offseason. Now, you go to ESPN, there's a lot of positive thoughts about what the Magic did. A lot of them are saying, that the Magic got a good player in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope to add to their starting lineup, and then just secured their depth. And so we'll talk a little bit more about what the Magic's offseason sets up. We'll probably get to that after Summer League. We'll talk more about what this summer really did and what this summer really was. But typically when a team has $50 million in cap room, you're thinking big. And I get that. I understand that. And the Magic are in a position where they're a good team now. It should feel like they can make bigger waves in free agency. And, I think I tried to warn everybody that the Magic were probably not going to win the headlines in free agency. That's just not the way that they operate. And it just didn't seem like where they felt their team was. We talked to Jeff Weltman about this a little bit, and he made it abundantly clear. And we talked to him Saturday. They introduced Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. We got to talk to Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. We'll talk about that on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic. But Jeff Weltman said, we're kind of running on two tracks here. The first track is, yes, we are trying to win games. We are now a playoff team. We want to keep getting better. We want to keep advancing. But the second track is also really important. That second track is we are a developing team. We are still a young team. We are still investing in our young players, and we want to give them every opportunity to succeed. That is where this team is at. So the Magic had to find a way to get better and still compete in the playoffs and still compete and grow in that sense. But they didn't want to impede what they already have built. Again, why did the Magic give a max contract to Franz Wagner? Because they believe he is their second best player and can be the number two or can be a star on this team. They didn't want to go get a Paul George who would take shots away from him. They didn't want to go get a DeJounte Murray who's going to be a more ball-dominant point guard. It's why I've been very skeptical of any interest in Anthony Simons or Trae Young. The Magic don't want to stop the path that Paolo, Banchero, and Franz Wagner are on. They don't think they've hit a dead end where they need to change things up or slightly adjust things to get the most out of these players. They believe there is still room to grow in so many areas with these two players. And so, regardless of which path the Magic ultimately went down, regardless of whether they did make the big splashy move or not, the Magic were always dependent on one thing. Whether the Magic can get out of the first round, can get home court advantage, can get to the conference finals, has always been dependent on one thing happening. And that's Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner getting better. Why are the Magic investing a max contract in Franz Wagner? Because they believe Franz Wagner will get better, and him getting better elevates this team to another level. That is the bet they have made. Paolo Banchero is going to get a max. Like, I don't think we're pretending otherwise. The whole project is betting that Paolo Banchero will be one of the 10 best players in this team. Would not surprise anybody if he's an all-NBA player next year and gets to 30% supermax. I think that would be tough, but it wouldn't surprise me. He's that good. So the future for this Magic team always has depended on the development of these two players. We could talk about everything else. We can talk about free agency acquisitions. We can talk about depth. We can talk about, the Magic need this, that, or the other thing. Everything starts with how much better Paolo and Franz get. And yes, the Magic may have missed an opportunity to add significant players. It wasn't a great free agency class, and clearly there were not many options for trades. I would argue one of the things the Magic did this summer is they made themselves a lot more attractive on the trade market, or a lot more easier to work with on the trade market. But it all depends on how much better Paolo Banchero is, how much better Franz Wagner is. They could get an external shock, sure. But DeJounte Murray is only going to be as good as Paolo and Franz are. And that is the heart of the thing. The Magic know these are two young players, a 22 and a 21-year-old, who are still developing, who are still figuring out the limits of their games and stretching their games as far as they can go. And so far, every time they've stretched their game out, it's looked good. So the Magic aren't getting in their way. They want them to continue doing so. They want them to continue exploring and continue to have the freedom, frankly, to still make mistakes. How many times did I say during the playoffs, I don't care about Paolo's turnovers. Paolo's turnovers were really bad in the playoffs. But I was like, I don't care about them because this is a learning experience that's going to make him better. And as that series went on, he did get better with his turnovers. He made smarter reads. He made smarter passes. He made smarter decisions. I didn't care. I still largely don't. As long as you're learning from your mistakes and growing from them, I'm fine with making them at this point still. That's the case with Franz. That's the case with Paolo. Because it's still all about them getting better. That, at the end of the day, is the key to how the Magic get better. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope helps. He's going to make this a better team. But if the Magic want to get out of the first round, it's on Paolo and Franz. If the Magic want to rise to championship contender, it was always on Paolo and Franz. And that's why they're the Magic's two max players. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the fun places to podcast to your podcast-enabled listening device. You can also find us on YouTube. Just search for Locked On Magic. Thank you for subscribing to that. By the way, we are continuing to increase our subscribers, so I really do appreciate that. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You, of course, find us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, including the cap math, as I saw it on Friday, check out my Patreon page, your Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. And as always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done listening to us, be sure to check out the Locked On Sports Day 24/7 streaming channel. You can find that on Amazon Fire TV and YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Day now available on the free Fire TV channels app. We'll be back again tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Magic, unless another contract is signed. We'll chat about what we learned about Kentavious Caldwell-Pope as he made his trip to Orlando and officially becomes a member of the Orlando Magic. We'll talk about that. We will hit Summer League on Wednesday's episode of Locked On Magic. Do not think I've forgotten about Summer League. And then we'll see you from Vegas later on this week. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.